Thank you for staying with us, everyone. Don't forget, you can be part of the conversation. INEC and the rerun election takes our attention, and of course, we're looking at the situation in Anambra State and the implications of some of the court cases that we are seeing. Of course, go on Twitter and tweet at us. Hashtag there is hashtag politics today at CTV Politics. That's the handle of the program there. Of course, let me go back to our Abuja studio where the director of voter education and publicity at INEC has been talking to us, Mr. Oluwole Osazi-Uzi. Tell me about the Anambra Central Senatorial District. It stated clearly there in your schedule of the election that the PDP cannot submit a candidate, or the party cannot participate in the senatorial, the central senatorial election in Anambra State.
Yes. Well, you're aware that the election of Uche Ekwenife, who was returned as the winner of that election, was notified by the Court of Appeal. And the Court of Appeal decision was quite clear on the issue. You were not qualified to contest that election, and as such, your return was unlawful, and so they set aside the return and ordered that INEC should conduct another election in Anambra Central. So that was the basis, the background to where we're at today.
So the party does not have the right to replace Senator Ekwenife in that sense. If the process that brought her, it was wrong.
Well, yes. In our understanding of the judgment, no, you cannot replace, you cannot benefit from your own wrongdoing. If you fielded an unqualified candidate, you cannot now participate in a subsequent election reordered by the court, except and unless the Court of Appeal or whatever tribunal or Supreme Court has ordered that you be allowed to replace your candidate.
All right. Okay. Let me bring Mr. Abiodun Ajijola, who joins us from Akure, the Ondo State capital, into this matter. He's an election observer, the national coordinator of Election Monitor. Thank you so much, Mr. Ajijola, for joining us. We were together on the field in Bayelsa State, in Kogi State, and we saw a lot of changes. Of course, INEC specifically made a lot of changes when we went into the third round of election in Bayelsa State, where they amended the guidelines to suit that particular exercise. What lessons do you think the Commission should be taking into these rerun elections to make it well desirable as expected?
Good evening. Thank you for having me. Yeah, you made a very good point about the Bayelsa election, supplementary election, which held on the 9th of January this year. And it is clear that what happened was that there was a serious problem with security. And the problem, caused it to, or made it very difficult for INEC to hold elections in Southern Ijaw local government on the 5th or 6th of December. And it was clear that there were still security issues coming into the 9th election. So I think INEC took a decision that was very, very formidable by merging accreditation and voting together. And what that did was to ensure that even if the accreditation or the process started a bit later than usual, because it should start at 8 o'clock, whatever the case, it would be finished in the daytime. And we found out that in most places, the collation, or at least the completion of the voting process, was concluded well in the afternoon. And what we have discovered is that a lot of irregularities occur at night. The violence and the activities of the thugs and other people is more pronounced when there are fewer people to resist them, which is also at night. So having the process completed earlier in the day was quite significant. And if you cast your mind back, you will remember that the reason why accreditation and voting was separated was because at the time, it was possible for you to go from one polling unit, get a accredited vote, and then go to another place, and multiple voting could occur. But now, with the PVC and the card reader, it's not possible to achieve that because your permanent voter's card is tied to a particular polling unit. So even if you have the whole day and you take your PVC to a separate or a different polling unit, it has no effect. So for that reason, it no more makes so much administrative sense to have the two processes separated and prolong the activities on election day, considering the fact that after the election, the accreditation and voting, we still have collation, both at the PU, we have to collate at the ward, we collate at the local government, we collate at the state, and the presidential election, collate at the national. So it became clear that there was no need to prolong this activity and to merge it. And I think that action taken by INEC during the supplementary election in Southern Ijaw local government and some other parts of Bayelsa State was very, very useful and actually contributed to the ability to conclude that election that weekend. So I think that is a great step. Of course, as you know, it might be possible that, of course, the political parties were brought together to agree that they would accept to, that particular position of merging the two processes. But at the same time, because now we have a lot of litigations here and there, once someone loses an election, that's when he decides that something is wrong with the election. So we have challenges where somebody might say, okay, the guidelines state clearly that you are to have accreditation, then voting, and that you cannot amend it in the middle of an election. So I think INEC too will be careful as well in order to ensure that they don't fall into the trap of desperate politicians. But I think INEC learned a good lesson from that and took a very good step in the right direction. Also in the area of security, we saw that there was an improvement in the security in the supplementary election of 9th of January, but much better than what we had on the 5th of December. Also logistics, we found out that logistics was much improved. And in the area of the card reader performance, from what we observed in the 9th January election, we saw that generally there was much better performance, even of the card reader, fewer rejections that we noticed. So I think all in all, INEC had learned quite a lot of lessons from the Southern Ijaw election, and also even after that election, they did call a stakeholder meeting with civil society groups and media, and I think also political parties as well, to debrief. And I think at that meeting, various observer groups, civil society groups, and media organizations.
Just a moment, Mr. Ajijola, if you can hear me. Let's hear from Mr. Ozaziuzi. If some of these lessons are going to be put into the rerun elections, is the commission going to merge the voting and the accreditation exercise, just like you did in the Southern Ijaw exercise?
Yes, because of the peculiarities of Bayelsa State, we decided to pilot it, see how well it will work. And we're quite satisfied at the results of that experiment, that they should do the accreditation and voting simultaneously. So running the pilot on a wider scale before deploying maybe for a general election to see the pros and the cons, the commission, INEC, has decided to do simultaneous accreditation and voting, because we've been listening to what the observers have said, we've been listening to what voters have said, and it will appear it's a lot more convenient, and service delivery is what we're after. It is better, it saves time, and a lot of people who usually will accredit and go and don't come back to vote, apparently will be encouraged to come, accredit at their own convenience, vote, accredit and vote at the same time. So yes, we're going to run a wider scale pilot for all the by-elections being conducted between now and March.
So it's certain now, or cast in stone now, that INEC has amended its guideline for good in this regard.
Yes, well, it is for good from the responses we have gotten from voters, from observers, and from election managers, election monitors who actually went out to the field in Bayelsa. Recall that we've always experimented with different things. We've seen the mischief that was associated with simultaneous voting, accreditation and voting. But with the use of the card reader and with the use of the PVCs, we've seen that it is not likely that you are going to vote in one place and migrate to another place and vote a second or a third time. With the processes in place, that will no longer be possible, because your name will only appear once in the register. It will not appear multiple times. And if your card reader reads your card, that's the end of the matter. It goes to the server. You cannot use that card again to go and get a credit somewhere else or another card, because there's already your biometrics. So that mischief has been addressed. We want to see how well it will work, so that all the future elections, if it works well, we'll either adapt it wholesale or tweak it a little bit and maybe do necessary modifications if need be.
All right. Just in about 30 seconds, Mr. Ajijola, please tell me, the big one appears to be in Rivers State, where we have bigger, I mean, the hugest chunk of this election going to take place. Just about 30 seconds. What do you foresee in this particular exercise that may be sort of a challenge for INEC especially?
I think in the recent past, we've been having quite a lot of reports of violence from Rivers State, particularly attributed to politics and political actors. So I think that's one key issue INEC needs to take into consideration heading into Rivers State. And in addition, I think Rivers is a bit different than Bayelsa in terms of the terrain. So I think it will be much easier to manage the security. But nevertheless, an in-depth security assessment should be done, well deployed, and I think INEC should ensure its card readers are functioning effectively, the people are trained properly, and that it puts its logistics machinery in place.
All right.
With the simultaneous accreditation of voting, I think we're on the right path.
All right. Mr. Osaze-Uzeh, just in 30 seconds, tell me, do you have fears about Rivers' rerun elections?
Well, naturally, before an election, we have some level of apprehension. But what we have to do is plan, and do more planning, and hope that everybody does exactly what they're supposed to do on election day. And we're sure that if they do, the INEC will try and do what it's supposed to do, ensure that personnel are on ground early enough, ensure that the carrier works optimally, and ensure the materials are sufficient and are there. We hope the security agency will be on top of the situation as well, and then the voters will behave in a peaceable manner. And everybody will do what they're supposed to do at the time they're supposed to do that. All
right, many thanks for coming on the program, Mr. Oluwole Osaze-Uzeh, Director of Voter Education and Publicity at INEC.
Thank you very
and
much.
Mr. Abiodun Ajijola, the National Coordinator of Election Monitor. Thank you for joining us from Akure, the Ondo State capital. And also you that have been watching us, thank you for being such a great companion. On behalf of the team, I'm sure Kimbale. Bye for now.